The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you.
When John the Baptist heard in prison of the works of the Christ, he sent his disciples to Jesus with this question: "Are you the one who is to come, or should we look for another?" Jesus said to them in reply, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind regain their sight, the lame walk, lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have the good news proclaimed to them. And blessed is the one who takes no offense at me." As they were going off, Jesus began to speak to the crowds about John. "What did you go out to the desert to see? A reed swayed by the wind? Then what did you go out to see? Someone dressed in fine clothing? Those who wear fine clothing are in royal palaces. Then why did you go out? To see a prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. This is the one about whom it is written, 'Behold, I am sending my messenger ahead of you. He will prepare your way before you.' Amen, I say to you, among those born of women, there has been none greater than John the Baptist. Yet, the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
When I reflected on today's Gospel reading, the question that came to me was the same question that John the Baptist, who's imprisoned, and he's been proclaiming the Messiah. Now all of a sudden he's facing, he may believe at this point, imminent death. So he's wondering, what did I lay down my life for? For whom did I lay down my life? Are you the one who is to come, or should we look for another? He tells his disciples, go ask him that. And it's a question that many people may ask of us. If we truly are followers of Christ, we may be asked the question, well, prove it to me. Show it somehow to me that you are not only an authentic follower of Christ, but that he's changed your life. Notice Jesus' response today: go tell John what you see, what you hear. The blind regain their sight, the lame walk, lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have the good news proclaimed to them. And give us this day a beautiful little book with meditations, daily meditations. I love what Barbara Bound Taylor writes. She says, what is Jesus saying, she says. It sounds as if he's saying, go tell John that everyone who is expected has already arrived. Go tell him what you hear and see. Things may not be working out the way you wanted them to, but every now and then, in surprising places, marvelous things are happening. People who are blind to the love loose in the world have received their sight. People who are paralyzed with fear are limber with hope. People who were deaf from want of good news are singing hymns. And best and most miraculous of all, tell John that this is not the work of only one lonely Messiah, of the work of God carried out by all who believe, and there is no end in sight. There is no end in sight. What are we saying? What are we doing? That beautiful reading from Isaiah today begins with this: the desert and the parched land will exult. The steppe will rejoice and bloom. They will bloom with abundant flowers. 10 years ago, I got a call one day from a nursing home. It was to visit a woman who had been a parishioner of mine at St. Maurice for a number of years. I had never known her name. I had always seen her. She came to daily Mass. I'll call her June. I walked in her room and there was a caretaker with her who told me that June had just been told that she only had weeks left to live. She was in her early 80s. So as the woman left the room and I talked to her for a while, heard her confession, gave her communion, she said to me, "I wish I could see my children." Oh, I said, "Well, where are they?" She said, "Well, I have 6, Father." She says, I haven't seen them for years. I said, "Well, that's funny. Imagine someone not visiting their mother." I was ready to slap her. I said, "Do you have any of the names?" She says, "I have the oldest ones. I know where he lives. He lives in Nashville." So she gave me his name. So I called a police officer friend of mine from Nashville, Scott. I said, "Scott, could you get me info on this guy?" "Father, that's against the law. It's against privacy laws." "Okay, well," she told me he was an active Catholic, so I'll investigate. So I started calling all the Catholic parishes in the area, knowing all the priests. We know each other well. So finally, bingo, I hit the name. But I wasn't sure if it was he. There are many people that have similar names. I had noticed when she gave me his name that it was a different last name. So in any case, I wrote him, I called the number that the parish had given me, and lo and behold, it went to a doctor's office, I guess, with the landlines and all being changed today with cell phones. He may have changed his number or gotten rid of his number. It was reassigned to a doctor's office. So I decided to write a note. I wrote a note and I said, "Your mom's dying. If this is your mother, if not, please excuse this note." And I left it at that, but could you please contact me? So I heard nothing for a few weeks. It was getting critical because the woman was going downhill. So finally this woman calls. She says, "Father, I'm the daughter of this woman that you're looking for information about." She says, "Father, she's really not our mother." I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "Well, when we were young, my youngest brother was only 3 or 4. She took us to a courthouse in Concord late in the afternoon. It was a cold winter's day. And she left us in front of a sidewalk, in front of a police station. She says, the police came out and got us, and we were afraid and crying. And finally they contacted my dad, who really couldn't take care of us. So they contacted his mother, who was in her 70s. And she's the one who brought us up. We don't have a mother, Father. And she says, we really don't want to hear any more about her. So I said, okay. I said, well, can I call you when she dies, if you want? Now, I ended up knowing this woman. It's a small world. I knew her husband. It's funny. Anyway, a few weeks later, the woman is on her deathbed. So I called to let her know your mother is dying. She says, Father, I want to tell you something else. My oldest sister died a few years ago. We called our mother. She never came. Okay. So the woman died, and I called, left a message with an answering machine. I left a message. The mother had died. I'm doing a very brief funeral in Manchester at Mount Calvary on Tuesday morning. Didn't want a mass. I said one though. 2 words. So anyways, we go to the cemetery, and it's only her caretaker, another woman who was a friend of hers. There was a cold winter morning, blustery winter morning, and all of a sudden this car comes up. It's a young man with his wife. I assumed it was his wife. He gets out, and I stopped praying, and I said, "Who are you?" He says, "This is my mother, Father. I was the youngest. I never knew my mother. She abandoned me when I was only 4, but I need to be here today to tell her that I forgive her and that I love her." And he knelt at the casket. He started to weep and weep. Finally, he stood up, and I finished the service, and I offered him any help if he ever needed to talk, to give me a ring. The desert and the parched land will exult. The steppe will rejoice and bloom. They will bloom with abundant flowers and rejoice with joyful song. What did you come out to see? That's what Jesus says in regards to John. Did you come to see just, listen to what he says, I love it, a reed swayed by the wind? There's some wind. What you came out to see? Or did you come out to see someone dressed in fine clothing? He's more than a prophet. Behold, I'm sending my messenger ahead of you. What is this Advent season about? We can lose focus of what it's all about unless we become like this young man who is hit hard by a word to forgive, a word to convert. Conversion isn't just something that's easily done. You have to work hard at changing, in a sense. It's God's grace, yes, but you have to cooperate with God's grace. And you see, people like John the Baptist remind us that if we're willing to take that upper hand, if we're willing to become prophetic in our own way, that our lives can be made better. So Jesus today announces who he is, what he does. The blind see, and the deaf hear, and the mute speak, and the lame dance for joy. And that's all for us, not just for days gone by. Each one of us is called to rejoice because the Lord has come. Again, I always like to encourage you, advise you, not to forget why we're celebrating these beautiful days of Advent. They're days of preparation. Tonight, this afternoon at 4, we have a penance service at St. Michael's in Exeter with 10 priests who will be hearing individual confessions. It's very brief. I give a very brief service. 2 minutes, and then we go to our places. And the reason we do that isn't because I want to waste your time or mine. It's because we carry heavy burdens in life. And Advent is a way of getting rid of those burdens so that we can receive the real gift, who is Jesus, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Jesus said to them in reply, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind regain their sight. The lame walk. Lepers are cleansed. The deaf hear. The dead are raised. And the poor have the good news proclaimed to them."